In this particular learning module, we are going to discuss about the facts of the business economics. So what are the important objectives which we can learn at the end of this particular study note are the following. First, we are going to understand about the relationship between human wants and available resources to satisfy them. Then, we will also understand about micro and macroeconomics and how it impacts as to the various aspects of the human economic activity. Then we will also discuss about business economics and its nature. And of course, whether economics is an art or a science, it's always a debate, right? We will look into that particular aspect also before speaking about the interdisciplinary theory of the markets and private enterprises. Finally, we will also check how micro and macroeconomics are getting involved in the business activities. Normative and prospective nature of business economics is also understood as a last part of this particular learning module. Moving on to the learning module. First and foremost thing, let us understand about the human want. Human wants are basically unlimited, but we have a lot of needs, right, which we want to go ahead and satisfy them. How we can do that? First and foremost thing, we have to understand about the human want. Human wants are nothing but the desires and aspirations of a human being. Okay, somebody when just wanted to have some sort of food, clothing, shelter, etc. They are very basic. Okay, so that is what their want is. For some people, it is more about, I want to achieve this. I want to own a car. I want to own a mansion. I want to own a big apartment, so that they are into the next level. Or some other person may be thinking like this, I want to become a superhero, or I want to become a person who is recognized by most of the people in my society, etc. So it varies from person to person and people to people. And if you are asking me whether that particular want are limited in nature, no, it is unlimited, because we are just going ahead and satisfying one want. But that doesn't mean that once that want is satisfied, we are really going to be happy, right? It is recurring in nature, and what would happen is that this want is unlimited, and most importantly, it can be satisfied, but that doesn't mean that it is permanently satisfied. Individually, each and every want can be satisfied, but not permanently. Not all our wants can also be satisfied, but we can prioritize the want. How we can prioritize the want? It depends upon the individual persons or individual requirements. Some person may be interested in getting the first thing first. For instance, he just want to have a very good luxurious food. That may be his priority. But some other person may be interested in going to cinema theater and spending time with his friends. So it varies from person to person and from people to people. Before looking into human wants, let us also go and understand about an example here. For instance, a particular want is there, that you wanted to do this particular activity. Whereas if you go and ask some other person who is staying there in the particular region itself, his want may be different. The reason is that both are different persons and their intentions are also different. The method in which they are going to satisfy them may also be different. So again, here what we have to understand is that this varies from person to person and from people to people, right? There are wants which are recurring in nature. For instance, today we are going to have breakfast. Once the breakfast is served to us and we are happily having it, which means that we will be very happy, we are satisfied for that particular day. That doesn't mean that next day we do not want breakfast, correct? The next day also, it is a routine affair for us. We would be becoming very hungry and we wanted to have some food. Same is the case for lunch, dinner, snacks, etc. Not only this, there may be some other thing. We want to have a new cloth, right? We are getting it. Doesn't mean that it is not going to recover. After 3 months or 6 months or even a year, we want to have new clothes for us. So most of our wants are recurring in nature. As mentioned earlier, wants are competitive. The reason is that today we want one want which is more priority for us. tomorrow we want to have some other different want. So it depends. When you are very hungry, your immediate want is to have some food. Whereas if you are not hungry, you may be looking for something different. If you go and ask a person around say 7:30 or 8 a.m. in the morning, what do you want to have? The person will simply tell, I want to have either a cup of coffee or tea or even some snacks like idli, dosa. That is the thing which they want to have it at the time of the breakfast. Same person go around say 11 or 11:30. He will not be looking for that mini breakfast, right? He may be looking for a good meal, right? Whereas if you go to the same person in the evening, he will tell that, yeah, I want to have some coffee or tea along with some snacks, he will tell. But 7 p.m. he will look for supper or dinner, depending upon how he is interested in finishing that particular day. This is with respect to food. Take with respect to the activities which they are doing outside. Few people may be interested in playing cricket. Few people may be interested in playing tennis. So depending upon the personal thing, that particular requirement will also change. It is not that every person in the evening will play only cricket or every person will play only tennis, etc. It depends upon the individual preference. And more importantly, in the morning when he is hungry, even though he is having passion to play cricket, he will not go and play cricket, right? He will first try to quench his thirst and hunger, and then only he will go ahead and play the cricket or any other game which he is interested. It also depends upon the place also. For instance, if you are staying at home and it is raining outside, so you may maximum look for an indoor game only. You will not look for playing cricket or tennis, which is an outdoor game. And we already know that it varies based on the time also. The reason is that in the night, okay, for instance 11:30 or 12, you are not in a position to sleep relaxedly. Okay, what are the options available for you? You can listen to music, or you can even watch TV, etc. Do you think you can go out and play something outside unless otherwise you are having a floodlight facility, etc.? Basically it is not possible for you to play in the midnight. So time, place and person are much more important in defining the human wants. Some of the wants may be complementary in nature. For instance, you are having coffee, right? The coffee is not made up of one single product. It is made up of multiple products like milk, sugar, decoction, etc. So it may complement, some of the products may complement each other. And since the situation also changes, based on the situation also, the want may change. For instance, I am at home, I may be interested in having a hot degree coffee, whereas I am in travel, and in that particular situation, I know that coffee is not available because I may be used to the filter coffees. It is not available. Instant coffee is only available. At the same time, I thought that, you know what, I am traveling outside. I do not want to have a instant coffee. Let me go for tea which is available and which is also very nice as compared to the coffee which I am going to get here. So naturally, based on the particular situation, even my want will change. And when you are going to do it a particular activity on a daily basis, it will become your habit, right? After getting up from the bed, you are normally going to brush your teeth, and that is becoming a standard monotonous activity for you on a daily basis, and that want is becoming a habit and over a period of time a custom. Take the example of a person whose upbringing is in India, specifically South India. Naturally, his or her breakfast would be idli, dosa, etc. Whereas if you go to middle part of India, they call it as nasta, and predominantly it would be either a samosa or kachori with tea. If you go to a place like US, they may interested to have a donut along with a coffee, or even a burger with a coffee, etc. And if you go to Mediterranean, they will go for falafel. So it depends upon the place, person, and the method in which we have been brought up. Okay, that defines the want as well as the customs. Unless otherwise we have experienced a particular product, we will not think that we are in need of that particular product. This we can understand from the behavior of the kid itself. If you look into small kids, they look for some product. They would be much more interested in that. And once you started giving that, they will believe that whatever action they are doing, by doing that, they will certainly get that. They will try to do the same thing again and again till they actually get that particular item. Wants may be necessary, comfort, or even luxury. So from this place, if we have to move to some other place, there are various transport facilities available. Even we can go by walk also. Are we willing to go by that? That's the next question. Second thing, even if you are interested in going by walk, it involves some time, right? If you want to go and reach the particular place at a very quick pace, you wanted to opt for some transport. It may be a public transport or it may be a private transport. And when you are traveling from one place to another place, in public transport also we are having multiple options. We are having bus transport, we are having train transport, etc. And private, you can even engage in a private auto or cab services, or if you are owning a vehicle, you can even drive the vehicle. It may be a bike or it may be a car, etc. And with respect to the necessary items, if we are going to discuss, first and foremost thing is our food. Food, shelter and clothing are the bare minimum things a human is actually looking for, correct? We want to have food so that we can survive. Food includes water too. Water is the elixir of life, right? Shelter, because at the end of the day, we want to go and stay in a particular place. And then, more importantly, we need to wear some good dress, right? These are the three basic necessary items which every human beings would be interested in. So that forms part of the necessary item. Next comes the comfort. Okay, now you are having very good food. Can you have the food in a better place? Okay, there is a big difference between having a food in a roadside shop to having it in big 5-star hotels. But we are paying some additional money for that. It is basically the concept for which we are going to pay. It is the same coffee, okay, which is going to taste, whether we are going to have it at a shop, which a roadside shop, who is going to give you immediately. As soon as you go and ask for a coffee or tea and then give him a 5 or 10 or 15 rupees, whatever it is, you are going to get it in a small cup. If you go to a big 5-star hotel also, you will order for it. Maybe it may cost you 400 rupees or 500 rupees also. But it is the same amount of coffee. The one thing is that there in the bigger hotels, they will not give everything ready-made. They will give you a separate cup of decoction, separate cup of milk and some sugar, etc., which you have to go and you have to ensure that you are putting it in the cup and then stirring it and then you finally have it. Normally in outside area, we will complete drinking tea in say 3 to 5 minutes time, right? Whereas if you are going to be in a big 5-star hotel, they themselves will take 15 minutes to bring those things to your table. And after that, you will be having a very good discussion with the person with whom you have went there. And what would happen finally? It is very simple. You will take a sweet 45 minutes to 1 hour. So there, the cost is not only for serving the tea or coffee, but also for the time you are spending there. So it is basically a concept. It is not only drinking a coffee or tea, but also the concept, which is one of the reason this is becoming a comfort for you. And luxury. Luxuries are the items which even without that, we are in a very good position. For instance, especially ladies, look into them. They would be much more interested in wearing a diamond necklace. Similarly, we are also having people who are much more interested in having a costlier cloth, etc., which is having a diamond things. Instead of normal button, they will have a diamond button, etc., because they just want to show that they are very luxurious and other things. So whether it is required or not, even a normal cloth with a normal plastic button is more than sufficient. But if you are going to have that, it will do the same purpose, but at the same time, it will just show that snob value, that appeal is going to be there. And the want can also be influenced by an advertisement or an emotional factor. The reason is that we all know that small kids always likes to just follow the superheroes. For instance, if there is a small kid who is very passionate about cricket, naturally, if that particular kid is going to see the advertisement of either Kohli or MS Dhoni, naturally, that particular person is willing to go and opt for that particular product only. And that is also the way in which the advertisement is influencing, and there is also something called as emotional factors. The emotional factors may come out of the advertisement or also based on the personal expectations of the individuals, because my father has followed this tradition or custom, I am going to do that because I know that my father is always right. There is a group of people like that, or my guru has told like this, or my teacher has told like this, I want to follow the same. So this is how wants are getting influenced by other person, including advertisement and emotional factors. Moving on to the next slide. In this particular slide, what are we going to learn? We are going to learn about available resources. Resources are a source or supply from which a benefit is produced or has some sort of utility. What is a sort of utility? Just take, if you are going to have milk, that is providing some utility, right? You are going to have a milk, a hot milk you can have, or even if it is a cold milk, you can put some item which can be prepared like badam milk, etc., which is prepared out of a cold milk, or even you can prepare a tea or coffee, etc. And it is a raw material which is getting converted. You are not directly consuming it, you are making a different product and consuming it. Similarly, there are some products which are available to you which can be directly consumed also. So it is nothing but any resource, okay, or a supply out of which we are going to get some sort of utility or some benefit is getting produced is called as resources. So with this particular resource, any one of our want can be satisfied. If you are very hungry, okay, we can have some sort of food, and anything relating to that can be a resource for that. For instance, you are going to a hotel and then you will just order for whatever is available there, say idli, dosa, or even puri, etc. And if you are looking into the availability of resources, you have to understand the more important point there. Not unlimited, which means that it is limited, right? Availability of resources are not unlimited because it is limited in nature. We have already discussed about the 5 M's in our previous learning model. Just remember that. And human beings, we are rational animals, okay, and we are much more interested in using the available resource for our optimal benefit. We always believe that, right? I planned that and it has come really good. So that kind of self-satisfaction we want to have, and whatever we want to do or whatever decision we are taking, we want to ensure that we are taking a right decision there, or we are putting the product to the optimum benefit. For instance, if you are having say 100 rupees now and you wanted to ensure that you are using it optimally, it depends upon person to person, because some person may be interested in just having it for saved for future. Some person may be interested in spending it. Some person may be interested in spending it only in food item. Some person may be interested in spending it only in entertainment. They are interested in going to a beach or cinema theater, or a person may be interested in combination of both. Go to a cinema theater and then have food, or go to a beach and then have some food, etc. But whatever they are doing, they are just trying to ensure that they are getting the optimal benefit or satisfaction. And this optimal benefit or satisfaction also varies from person to person, time to time, and situation to situation. Because on a Sunday evening, we may be interested in going to a party or even a beach, and then ensure that our time is spent in a leisured manner. But in a work day, especially on a Wednesday, do you think we would be interested in doing that? No, because we know that there are a lot of items we have to do either for our office or for our audit, or if you are just a student and you are only studying is your objective, so you will have a lot of plans to be completed for that particular day. And there are times whereby, assuming that there is a World Cup cricket match which is going to come, naturally we will adjust our priorities, right? We will ensure that we are starting our studies after completion of the particular match, right? Those things happen. The reason is that at that point in time when we are spending whatever activity we are doing, we want ourselves to be engrossed into it. When we are engrossed into it, it is very clear that we are going to get the optimum benefit or satisfaction. And the next one, what we have to understand is about the alternative resources which are available to satisfy the particular want. What are all the alternative resources which are available? For instance, if we want to take the case of a cricket, right? we all know about the gully cricket, right? People will go, the group of people who are staying there, they will just go ahead and then they will start playing the cricket. But suddenly it is raining, okay? Then we will create our own rules, make it as an indoor game, just G2, G4, G6, etc. by hitting the ball within the room and then identifying a particular area that you have to hit here for getting the runs, etc. Just you are ensuring that you are spending a very good time with your friends with the limited available resources, because outside it is raining, still you want to play cricket, you are playing a cricket, you are tweaking the idea of playing the cricket matches, because we are not following the game's rules and regulations. You create your own rules and you create your own regulations, but ensuring that the particular time spent with you and your friends are really optimum. So next one is about the human wants and available resources. This is nothing but a particular item which we have discussed even now. We are giving it to you in a hierarchy form. It is called as the Maslow's need hierarchy theory. He basically bifurcates the needs into nearly 5. Right? First and foremost thing is the basic need. It is also called as physiological needs. The next one is about the safety needs. The third one is about the love or belongingness needs. The fourth one is esteem needs, and finally reaching the self-actualization. Let us first understand about the basic things, what he is trying to emphasize here based on this need hierarchy theory. First and foremost thing, it is about food, shelter and clothing, right? That forms part of the basis of the pyramid. Why it is coming as the basic needs? Without food, shelter and clothing, human beings cannot exist, right? Next comes safety, because we want to be in a safe and secure place. Okay, we would be much more happier only when we are very much comfortable stating that, you know what, there is no risk either for me or my fellow family members or my friends who are staying with me. Only then we will stay in that particular place. We cannot go and stay in a jungle, right? Because we know that there is a chance that we may get attacked, etc. So we always look for some sort of safety. And then comes the belongingness needs or the love needs, that you get loved by other people or you get respected by other people and you get recognized by other people. This is more about getting a particular thing. Being a cricketer, if you are playing only a gully cricket, nobody is going to recognize you. But you started playing cricket, and what would happen over a period of time? You started playing divisional matches and then zonal matches, and more importantly, you are getting selected into state teams, finally to the national teams. Only when you are selected to the national team and started playing for the country, that recognition will actually happen. That kind of belongingness can happen only at that point in time. Next comes the esteem needs. This esteem needs is more about the confidence what we are going to display in getting that particular recognition. So any person who is actually getting recognition like that, for instance, let us take the example of MS Dhoni or Virat Kohli, etc. They are having that particular thing, right? Esteem, because they are getting recognition everywhere. So they belong to that particular category. The last one is about the self-actualization. The people who have achieved, even after the death, their name is actually etched in the history. Example, Gautama Buddha, Mahatma Gandhi, etc. But it is not that it has to follow the same order, but primarily most of the people will go through this only. If you look into Mahatma Gandhi, if you are thinking that whether he is having the basic physiological needs, safety needs, love or belongingness needs, esteem needs, after completing all these things, whether he has achieved self-actualization, no, it is not like that. End of the day, it is nothing but a mental state of affair. Okay, as long as we are in a position to satisfy ourselves that yes, I need this and these are the means in which my wants can be achieved, then we are really good and we can fix all our activities in any one of the 5 buckets given by Maslow. So having explained Maslow's need hierarchy theory, let us just try to understand that for our business economics also. Human wants are actually unlimited, which we all know, but the resources available to them are very much limited, right? So which means is that You are interested in, say, flying to US in 5 minutes time, but practically is it possible? Presently it is not possible. Earlier it takes months because they go by ship. Today we go in few days, within say 24 hours to 48 hours we can reach US, provided you are having very good connectivity by way of flight. So again, can you start immediately? No, there are some scheduled flights which are available and you have to go to the airport and other things. So there is a process which you have to follow. And with respect to economics, there are various theories available: modern theory of economics, classical theory, neoclassical theory. In modern neoclassical microeconomic analysis, economics is also defined as a study of optimum allocation of limited resources to satisfy the unlimited human wants. So the approach here is that want is going to be there, and it is very clear that it is defined as unlimited, and we have to satisfy with the resources which are available around us, amongst us. Okay, and once you are allocating it, you have to ensure that the person who is going to use it are getting the maximum satisfaction. This is because there is always something called as scarcity of resources. Because of this scarcity of resources, there is something called as opportunity cost. What is opportunity cost? It is nothing but the opportunity lost. Why we are having an opportunity lost? First and foremost thing, there is something which we are going to get. Because we are getting that, we are going to sacrifice on some other thing. Let us take the example. You are having 100 rupees with you, and using that 100 rupees, you can ensure that you are spending it for your optimum satisfaction or benefit. So you are going there and you are seeing a hotel, you are entering it, and you are noticing that a dosa there is around say 60 rupees. Can you have 2 dosas? No, it is not possible for you to have 2 dosas even though you are hungry, because you are having only 60 rupees. So you are ordering for 1 dosa, still you are having 40 rupees with you. Now you are thinking about another thing. There is also a chola puri which is available, which is costing 80 rupees. So now what would happen? Either you can have this, because if you are going to order dosa, already 60 rupees is out. You are having only 40 rupees. You cannot order chola puri. What we can very well do, you are skipping this and then you are ordering chola puri for 80 rupees. The difference between that particular both the choice is actually nothing but your opportunity cost. Because you wanted to order chola puri, you are sacrificing your want of dosa. Or you are thinking that let me have dosa instead of chola puri, let me have idli also, because I am so hungry. Let me have, what is the cost of idli? That is costing another 35 rupees. Right? Now the next dilemma, you want to also have a coffee there. The coffee itself is costing around say 15 rupees or 20 rupees there. So the option is that I am very hungry now. I do not want to sacrifice the eating part. So let me order idli. Let me go out in some local open shop. I will have a tea for 5 rupees. That's a choice you can make. Or let me skip this idli. So let me have the dosa, and let me have a special coffee for say 20 rupees or 30 rupees. That you can do because the amount is available with you. But whatever you are doing, you have to ensure that you are getting satisfaction out of it. It is a personal choice. Satisfaction is also very personal in nature. Moving on to the next slide, we are going to discuss about micro and macroeconomics here. And this particular economics, we have to have the grouping in nearly 4 parts in order to compare and understand both the things. First and foremost thing, we have to understand the term called as micro. Microeconomics is the study of economic decisions and behavior of individual units. In the particular diagram, you can notice that in the screen, you are seeing microscope getting displayed for it. It is very simple. You will go look into it individually. Okay, you will research into it individually. Whereas if you look into macro, it is about the whole economic system, either in totality or in entirety or in aggregate. That is the reason why we are representing there with a telescope, because you are seeing the farthest item. In telescope, the farthest item are seen, and then based on that you are doing your studies. Now we have to understand how this macro and micro terminologies have come into picture. The origin for this particular word is Greek. MAKROS, micros, means small. macros, M-A-K-R-O-S, means large. And the nature. The nature is about individual study here, because if you go and study about a particular tree which is available there, or a plant, it is an individual thing. Whereas if you study about the entire forest, it is called as macro, that is called as aggregate study. So how it is getting viewed? Microeconomics, we can tell it as a snake's view. That is, the snake will go and see like this, and it will see the trees across the place, right, in the entire forest. It doesn't know whether it is dense or not, but it can see a lot of trees there. It can individually study about that. It can individually see where is the path, etc. Whereas macroeconomics is about bird's eye view. How bird's eye view is happening here? Because the bird is at a very high level, maybe at say 1,000 feet or 5,000 feet or 15,000 feet. From there it is viewing down. It knows about the density of the forest. Okay, it will tell you where the forest is very dense, where the forest is very less, etc. But it cannot speak about the individual trees or individual places there. So this we have to understand in micro and macroeconomics. First and foremost thing, micro means small, macro means large. It is derived from Greek words micros and macros. The nature of the study is individual here, whereas in macro it is aggregate study. And the view is snake's view for micro and bird's eye view for macroeconomics. Having understood micro and macro, for each and every activity, whatever we are doing in our life, we can easily identify that whether it belongs to microeconomics or macroeconomics. When you are going to study about a particular company, individual company we are taking, let us take one of the popular company in India is Reliance. You want to study about that particular company. It is called as microeconomics. Now you are deciding that no, I want to understand about the entire conglomerates which are available in India. Then it is not only Reliance Group you are going to study, you are going to study about other groups which are actually having their companies. So that is nothing but the study of macroeconomics. So now we have to understand the difference, whether it is possible for you to have macro without micro and with micro without macro. Ideally, the answer is it is not possible. First and foremost thing, in all the business economics, microeconomics has to be there. Macroeconomics will help us by aggregating all the microeconomic concepts to the macro level, so that you can have a bigger picture. So microeconomics provides a smaller or a in-depth or a granular picture, whereas macroeconomics is going to provide you the global view or a bigger picture. What is needed? That is what we have to ask here, whether we need a granular picture or a bigger picture. Granular picture will certainly help us to do what next for that particular item, whereas macro, that is the bigger picture, will help us to understand what is the direction we have to take, whether we have to take this path or that path. I'll tell you a small story here. There is a group of people who are traveling in a forest. At one point in time, they have lost the map. They do not know which path they have to go. So they are seeing in two places, one a right and another one is the left. So at that point in time, what is happening here is that one of the person who is very wise is there. He suddenly thought that, you know what, I will just climb up the nearest tree which is very tall and then see where actually I am seeing less number of trees. Then he is just climbing up the nearest tree, and he is also seeing that at some place he is seeing no trees at all. So when there are no trees, there are only two options. Either that is a water body, or you are reaching the nearest village, or where there is a very clear and simple place where human beings are available. And now he is just looking into the top, and then he is coming down and informing his people, stating that if we go towards this particular direction, I am not seeing any big trees there. So what next we can do? Then they are all deciding, stating that let us go to that particular place. Either we are having only two options. It will lead us to a pond, or it may lead us to the nearest village, and they are taking it to that particular area. Finally they reached into a pond. This example we have given primarily because the person climbing up the tree is nothing but he is speaking about the macro. Okay, whereas the person who are below, they are speaking about which path to go. They are having micro details. Without micro details, you cannot have a macro approach. Let us understand the scope and uses. of both micro and macroeconomics, specifically in business economics. First and foremost thing, microeconomics helps in price determination, product or service pricing or pricing policies, market structure. These are the things which helps the microeconomics. This we can ask how this is going to help us in price determination. It is very simple. In a particular area, you are going to sell a particular product. Then you have to go and individually check there what is the income level of the particular people, whether if I go and price this product at this particular level, whether the people would be interested in buying it or not. The reason is that affordability and willingness are more important. That can be determined only by a microeconomics. Next comes the demand analysis and forecasting. And if you are looking into the demand analysis, it is basically what is the number of people which are available in the particular region who are planning to consume this. Is there any impact to the population which is going to be happened there? And if so, what is the forecast we can make? This primarily happens because there are people who will move from one place to another place. We all know that from villages, people will travel to the nearest metropolitan region because they want to have a better livelihood. For individual people, they always believe that instead of working in an agricultural sector, they can move to industrial or service sector to earn more money. So there is a thought process among people whereby they clearly define what they want, and based on that particular want, this microeconomics will get influenced. So that data is more important for us. It also helps to have profit analysis. How individually we are going to check the profit. Country as such, we will not check for that because that becomes macro. Individually, for my company, if I have to do the projections, I will look for what is the amount I am earning, what is the amount I am spending, whether I am earning profit or incurring losses. And in future, based on the studies, what my team has completed during this particular local geographical area, what is the impact it is going to have in the nearest demand, and what is the forecast I can make for the subsequent 1 or 2 years. Thereby, I can think about individual allocation of resources. Why I require such kind of study for an individual allocation of resources? As I have told you already in our learning modules, allocation of the resources should be for the maximum possible or optimum satisfaction. Okay, either it can be a maximum possible benefit or optimum satisfaction level. End of the day, we have to ensure that whatever decision we have taken, we are satisfied with that. And this also depends upon the individual consumer behavior, because we already know that, right? Human wants are unlimited and they differ from person to person, time to time, and place to place. So the consumer behavior also follows the same pattern. And the next point is about determination of economic policies and economic conditions of a section of people. The reason is that only that particular people may behave differently. If you look into the population in South India, they may be interested in, say, coffee. Just to go up, they may be interested in tea. And over a period of time, what would have happened if you go to some other country, they may be interested in green tea. If you go to US, they may be interested in coffee but without milk. So depending upon the section of people, the economic policies or economic conditions may be different. Now, having discussed this, we still have some points to discuss for macroeconomics, but in order to cover this particular page itself, we will discuss on the macroeconomic points also. So macroeconomic policies basically helps the government to determine the policies they are going to make. Government normally collects various economic data from individuals or individual firms or individual organizations, etc. They will aggregate that. Based on that aggregation, whatever they are making, they will make some decisions. For instance, if they are feeling that a particular industry is not doing good, they may receive representation from the particular industry. They will start collecting data relating to the industry. What are the raw materials they are using, in which place they are procuring the material, what is the process involved in that, what is the final output which they are bringing, who are the persons who are using that particular output, how geographically they are scattered, how the products or service are reaching the ultimate consumer. These are the analysis they will do, and then finally they will decide what is the benefit they have to give for the particular industry. This actually helps them to clearly define whether a particular policy is needed for that particular industry or not, or whether that particular section of the population requires any policy or not. All these things can be done based on the information they are collecting, aggregating, and thereby arriving at a proper conclusion. Of course, the analysis also depends upon the individual ability of the persons who are doing it, and also based on the data which is getting collected, because data integrity is what more needed for arriving at right decisions. Some of the times when we are collecting the particular data, it may be only a representation of the sample population, which we are extrapolating for the overall population. There are chances that the decision taken based on that may not be right also. Macroeconomics also helps us to compute the national income, national output, including the study of the general trends. Because it is very clear that people will be earning different amount. Okay, a person A may be earning 1 lakh rupees per month, person B may be earning only 25,000 per month, and in India we are having more than 130 crores of people, and out of that only 55% are people who are having the demographic dividend, that is people in the age group who can actually work and earn money. So we have to add everything. So what is the each and every person earning? And please understand that there is a very limited information available. Only 4 or 5% of the population is actually filing the income tax. So what would happen? We need to have multiple sources from which we can derive this particular data. So we have to arrive at the national income by collecting data from various resources, of course with some assumptions. And we will also look for inputs from various industries or various organizations who are collecting the statistics and helping our organizations or the country overall with respect to the statistics or econometrics trends that will give the overall general trend for our country. Macroeconomics helps in economic planning because in the previous step we have collected various data. What are we going to do by collecting various data? We are going to aggregate it. By aggregating it, we will arrive at, so for this particular year, this is the aggregate. For the previous year, this is the aggregate. So like that, we are going to have a proper trend which is getting set over a period of time. When you are getting a trend like that, then you can project for the future. When you are projecting for the future, you can really plan for that. So how, okay, last year during this particular period, onion was very high. What is the reason for that? So you are drilling down the data, and then you will come to know that either that particular year the output or the food production was not good for that particular onion, or what is happening here now is that most of the farmers are cultivating onion this year, and because of that there is a fall in price. Like that, you can start drilling down the data and then check how this can be extrapolated for future. This also helps the government to make specific policies for a particular industry or forex policy. For instance, till 1991, India's foreign policy are more of regulatory in nature. Afterwards, because of moving to LPG, that is liberalization, privatization and globalization, what government has started was to have lot of foreign money coming into India also. Similarly, we also go outside and invest our money outside also. So which means that there is an inflow of money, there is an outflow of money, whether it is favorable for us or not favorable for us. If we make that more favorable for our country, what are the policies we have to follow? Whether the action what is taken by the government is actually helping that particular policy or not, that can also be decided. Next is about having a credit for the people. Please understand one thing. Most of the time, we may be having various resources available, but vitamin M, money is not available. At that point in time, only item which is going to help us is relating to the credit policy followed by the government. That can be covered through a monetary policy. If a particular country following cheap money policy, which means that they are giving money at a lower interest rate, so that they can infuse enough liquidity into the economic system. At the same time, when they want to suck money out from the system, economic system, they will follow the dear money policy, so that the credit expansion is not great during a dear money policy. And We all know that there are various organizations which are competing for a similar or homogeneous products. For that, we need to have a proper competition policy. Either we want to have 2 or 3 so that a particular industry alone is not dictating terms. At the same time, even 2 or 3 players means that there is always a chance of cartelization. They may have an understanding among themselves and then start price fixing it. We want to avoid those things. So based on that, this competition policy of the government would actually come into practice. They can again collect the data relating to the price level, what is the source by which they are actually incurring their 5Ms. All these things are analyzed by the government, and finally they are arriving at a competition policy which is more beneficial for the particular country. Of course, we are having fiscal policy. Again, fiscal policy will give us the direction in which the country wanted to go over a period of time. And this also helps us which economic system we have to follow over a period of time, and whether the balance of trade or payments or external value of currency or whether favoring us or not favoring us can also be understood by analyzing the global macro trends. Aggregated form of microeconomics is the macroeconomics that actually helps. Individually, if an organization is having a payment, there may be another organization which is having the receipt. Actually, we have to set that off. By setting it off, whether the country is giving to outside or we are receiving from outside, we can understand. Of course, in the later chapters or when there is a learning module for that, we will get to know more about balance of trade and payments, etc., or the value by which our country's currency is pegged with different currencies or getting exchanged for different currencies, we will get to know. Moving on to the next slide, we are again continuing with the same economics, microeconomics and macroeconomics discussion, this time for microeconomics again. In microeconomics, optimum utilization of available factors of production and factor pricing is more important for us. The reason is that what is going to happen with the available factors of production? There are land, labor, capital, etc. And you have to ensure that for getting a very good profit, you need to allocate it properly. I do not want to produce something at the end of the day just for the sake of producing it, because I want to earn something in return for that, right? Every factors of production has some reward attached to it. And I want to produce only if I am going to earn more money out of it. I'm interested in spending 1 rupee today just to ensure that tomorrow I am getting more than 1 rupee. Otherwise, I will not even try to incur that 1 rupee specifically for a production function. And microeconomics helps us to have the understanding of the cost involved and the related analysis. For producing a particular product or rendering a particular service, what is the cost we have to incur? And are we in a position to recoup the cost plus some margin? Because end of the day, we do not want to do something without any profit, right? Next discussion is about behavior of the firms. Microeconomics deal how an individual firm actually react or respond to a particular business situation. The latest one is the pandemic which we are facing, correct? COVID situation. So every particular company has its own approach to that. Okay, some of them wanted to run the business using work from home. Some of them wanted to connect remotely. They want to give some facility to the associates or employees who are working. Whereas some of the firm, it is not possible for them to do it remotely. They are looking for some other options. Is it possible for them to follow some procedures and then ensure that the resources are also coming to the office or to the place where they are providing the service or even making a production? Because most of the service industry, they have to go to the consumer place. It is not possible for them to conduct those things remotely, correct? If they have to go to a particular client space in person, they will do that. So they are taking some precautionary measures, and all those things can be covered through the microeconomics. And if you aggregate everything, again it will come to the macroeconomics. But individually collecting the data, how a particular firm responds to a particular situation like this COVID or a pandemic situation can be a study of microeconomics only. And then this also helps us to understand about the location of industries. You have to understand one thing. if a particular area has to be made to grow, then you have to invest there. How can you invest there? You cannot ask the person to go and settle there. What we have to do? We have to create basic infrastructure for them and also ensure that they are in a position to earn some livelihood out of that. So what are the basic necessities for them? First and foremost, I think there has to be some place for them to go and stay. Second thing, they need to have some sort of employment available. How are you going to generate the employment? Just by opening any industry there. Okay, and what we are going to do, we are going to look for a particular location of industry, and if it is not developed till now, we wanted to give some benefits. The government would be much more interested in providing them with some benefits like a tax deferral, or if they are giving any local employment, some tax benefits. And not only that, giving the land at a very cheap cost, or ensuring that they are having a priority in customs clearance, or more importantly, providing them a transport facility, because from the nearest port, that place may be some 50 kilometers or 100 kilometers away. They have to provide the method in which it is getting transported from the place of production to the ultimate place of dispatch outside the country, specifically in case if it is an export oriented industry. It also helps to understand about the inventory management. One of the most popular thing is primarily about the just-in-time production concept, which means that I do not want to hold any inventory. I want to keep the inventory optimum, but I want to ensure that the production line is not stopped. That is called as just-in-time. So when the last unit is getting into the production, you will ensure that the next input for the raw material is actually available at your gate. That is the kind of just-in-time most of the organization wanted to have. How can we achieve that? Only when we know that the source can be procured and transported to the particular factory on time and at the time it is in need. And in case if that is not possible, then we have to store those things in the particular factory itself. So what is the minimum reorder level, and at what time we have to ensure that we are going ahead and ordering it, and how long, what is the lead time it will take for bringing those particular raw materials to this particular place so that the production is not stopped. Is that study relating to the inventory management? Not only that, this is about the input of raw materials. Now there is a finished product. You have completed all the productions. Now you have to send it outside, right? Either to the local market or to the export oriented market. If it is to the local market, only if there is a demand they are going to ask. Otherwise, what will happen? You will just go ahead and piling your stock only. So we have to understand that what is the storage capacity available for us with respect to the finished products, and how long we can retain it in the factory gate itself before it is getting dispatched to the place where it can be served to the ultimate consumers. So those are the things which we have to understand, specifically work with the marketing or sales and marketing department of a particular company, and then decide on the optimum inventory level which we have to maintain here. Because when there is an order for a particular product or service, if we are not in a position to serve that, then also it is a loss for us. Similarly, there is no demand at all. The person is not even interested in this product or service, but we are having enough. It is also not going to help us because our money is getting locked there. So proper inventory management or optimum level of inventory management is also covered through microeconomic study. Next comes the theory of capital and investment decisions. See, money in hand, okay, it is not going to help you because it is not going to multiply. But if you put it into the economic system, then the money multiplier concept will come into picture, and there is always a chance that your money will grow. Of course, there is a risk. There is a chance that you may lose your money also in the economic pursuit. But if you are going to just keep it in the locker, in your hand or in your pocket, it is not in system. So any decisions, whatever we are making out of money, that is called as the theory of capital and investment decision. Whether we are going to have it in our pocket or spend it in the economic system or save it for future. When you are saving it for future, you are going to have the financial institution coming into picture. Again, they are the person who are going to aggregate such savings and channelize it as investment. Okay, they helps in capital formation for industries from the backyard. That is more important for any economic growth. So individual things, individual savings are getting channelized into the macroeconomic environment. Finally, in microeconomics, we also study about risk and uncertainty analysis. This is the small item which even our family members are capable of doing. There are times whereby at the beginning of the month, the dad or the mom will go ahead and buy a lot of materials for that particular month. They call it as a provisions, purchase of provisions. But during the third or fourth week, something happens. And because of that, they have consumed something more. There is always a chance that during the last week, you are going to be without that particular product, assuming that it is going to be sugar. Okay, do you think they are going to go like that? They will just look, okay, for this particular month, there is a festival which is coming. So my consumption of sugar is going to be high. So let me buy extra at the month beginning itself. But despite all those planning, there is always a chance that we may overconsume it. At that point in time, what is the next option available for them? If they are having money, they can go ahead and buy in the market itself. If they do not have the money, they are also waiting for next month's salary. Then what will we do? It is a uncertainty for them. They can go ahead and borrow from the nearby friends or neighbors. Right? This is how they normally plan. This is one of the simplest concepts with respect to running the family. Just move that ahead with the concept of bringing it to an industry. What are the risks available for them? You have produced a particular product, but there is no demand, so it is lying idle. So your money is locked there. The other way, you are having an order, but you are not in a position to put the 5Ms into production or service and then churning out the identified product or service. Even then, you are going to lose. That is the uncertainty we are having in a business, because in a business, the risk is always involved. Okay, higher the risk, higher the profit. But at the same time, when the risk is higher, which means is that it is not only profit, there is a chance that you may incur loss also. Now, these microeconomic concepts again getting aggregated to macroeconomics. How? First and foremost point we have to understand. Of course, we are continuing from the previous slide. Please remember that there are few points which we have already studied in the previous slide itself. Here, if you look into that, there is something called as development. Development of what? Development of microeconomic theories. It is really important to understand that in macroeconomics that provides a trend relating to microeconomic. How? Remember, sometime before this module, we spoke about a person just reaching to the top of a tree to see which direction the team has to move. Correct? And then they identified a place where there are no trees, either that may be a pond or that may be a nearby village. And after identifying that, he came down, he discussed with his teammates and then proceeded towards that particular direction. Proceeding towards that particular direction is a microeconomic, whereas when he is on the top of the tree and analyzing it, that becomes a macroeconomic. So, macroeconomics actually helps to develop a lot of microeconomic theories. Next comes the overall savings and investments. See here, sometime before in microeconomics, we have studied about the individual household savings and then saving it to the banks or financial institution or spending in the economic activity, etc. And this macroeconomics speaks about the aggregation of all such items. So in a particular area, people will be earning say 100 rupees and they are saving more than 30 or 40 rupees in bank or post office. So that is getting aggregated there. That is nothing but the overall saving. But the financial institution who are receiving it, they in turn go ahead and advances to the various industries who are in need of finance. Right? It is always like this. I will get money for a lower cost as a banker or financial institution. I will lend it to the person who is in need of that particular finance or money for a slightly higher rate. The difference between both is called a spread, through which I am actually running my business. Because spread helps me. Spread after there is something called as gross spread, and if I am considering my expenses also for running that particular establishment, gives me the net profit at times loss. Because in case if we are not in a position to recover all our cost, we may end up in loss also. So the aggregation of all the savings from the individual households or smaller organizations will ultimately channelize into investments as advances of loans to various industries or even households who are in need of that. Next discussion is about the level of employment and the rate of economic growth, which is nothing but clearly a macroeconomic study. because what is the level of employment? Individually, we can tell that this person is employed, this person is unemployed. That is a microeconomic study. Aggregate everything. In this particular country, 20% of the population are unemployed. That is a macroeconomic. That is the level of employment. Okay, 20% of the population are not employed, or 15% of the people are underemployed because they are having a qualification, but they are not working for that particular qualification. They are working somewhat less. And then what is the rate of economic growth we are achieving? And rate of economic growth, how we can achieve? We have to be better in actually channelizing our resources. Next comes the business cycle. There is always something called as germination, starting of a business cycle, and then drive towards maturity, which is called as growth phase, and then we are at a maturity level, which is nothing but a stagnation, finally a fall. Okay, that is nothing but business cycle, right? Any business will go through that. There is a growth phase, there is a stagnation phase, and there is a decline phase. Again, we will come up with a different concept. Again, a growth phase starts. Okay, the more and more growth phases we are bringing for our organization, the better the long-term sustainability of our firm. For instance, let us take the example of some drinks. Okay, they will suddenly tell that I am introducing a new product. The reason is very simple. They want to focus on a particular segment of people. They just want to focus on particular gender, right? Example, what we can give, we can speak about Horlicks. Horlicks is there, and then suddenly they are also speaking about new Horlicks, and then they are also speaking about women's Horlicks, and then they are speaking about junior Horlicks. All of this are nothing but the same concept, whereby they are just giving it in different products. There may be some slight model change, etc. But end of the day, all of them are coming from the same company with a minor change to the product, just to ensure that they are targeting the right class of people who want to buy that. And there is something called as working of central bank or the financial system of the country, including banks, stock markets, and non-banking financial institutions, NBFCs, who are actually trying to help us to the most remote areas also. It is an organization which helps us to ensure that we are having proper financial inclusion, because we can very well tell that we are having internet can be given anywhere, etc. There are still some places where internet has not penetrated. At that point in time, these NBFCs helps to reach out to the last mile, right? We want to go to the places where the financial inclusion presently is not possible. We want to give that particular option, because only then we can grow the economy as a whole. If there are some people who doesn't have any benefits given for them, then what would happen? They are not in a position to actually go ahead and help the economy to grow, because end of the day, all your macroeconomic concept is about the overall population. So each and every person contributing to it is actually going to help us. And it also helps about the socio-political environment. Trade unions, cooperatives are the proper example. And from my perspective, I always tell only one thing, right? Whatever it happens, data is a gold mine actually. The more and more you look into data and arrive at a particular trend, it certainly helps you to have a well-informed decisions. First of all, data has to be collected, which is nothing but microeconomic concept. Then comes the aggregation part, which is the macroeconomic part. So with these two slides, I'm pretty confident that you would have understood what a microeconomics means and what a macroeconomics means with respect to business economics. And thank you very much. Hope to see you soon in the next learning module.